That's right! Welcome to the side of the ring because it's time for Ringside. Got a bunch of news lined up for you, ladies and gentlemen, so without further ado, we're just gonna whack! Drew McIntyre is being advertised for a May WWE show in Italy, leading PW Insider to speculate he may have finally come to terms on a new contract with the company. He's either finally signed a new contract, or he's going for the record for just the longest hot dog and handshake-esque type contract you can finally get. No, but this obviously does, allude to some good news. Hopefully it is in the realm of, him actually signing a contract, I don't know why I'm not convinced. I don't know why there's just something to this. It's just like, there's no way he's signing a new contract. He's just, maybe they're doing it part of a storyline. That literally has no leg to stand on whatsoever. I think the more interesting thing is the fact that he's going to be, it could just be a house show. I say that as though it's going to be like this super important, big deal pay-per-view event. It could literally just be a regular old house show, and maybe he's just there, to fulfill an obligation or something. So maybe don't read too much into it, but the fact that they've got him booked so far down the year obviously tells one of two things. Either I don't know why I think that he's not signed, because I guess that could be a possibility. I guess if you really wanted to, you could say that was a possibility. But then after that long stretch of time, what would be the point of not being signed? So with that being said, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So I assume he quietly resigned. He's going to be with them for, the foreseeable future, unless he just signed for 1 year, and then he's out of there. I don't 100% know. All I'm saying is, don't just assume it's one specific thing. That's all I'm trying to say. Sticking with Insider, they also say that while original plans called for Jade Cargil to be in the Women's Elimination Chamber match, it appears those plans have since changed. So Jade showed up, had a little thing with Charlotte. Then, if I remember correctly, she showed up on NXT. She was on like a throne or whatever, right? Then we don't hear anything from her. We're being told that, she's in the Performance Center. Then she finally shows up at Royal Rumble. She throws people around, doesn't win, ends up in the final 6, right? And then more word has come out that she's not good at remembering things or whatever, right? She's got like half a brain. And then it was like, all right, well, Jade Cargill is one of the people slated for the Elimination Chamber. And it's like, okay, a bit odd that I don't know what the qualifying match is, and it turns out there never was one, so I was just in the dark as everyone else. And now it's being told that she's not in the Elimination Chamber. So that's why I was like, she's got a very hopscotch-esque type of run going on right now, and I don't think that's a good idea. I don't think of all the people to be doing this with, you should be doing it with Jade Cargill, which was, I would say, the most anticipated wrestler to show up since Naomi, since there were rumors of Kazuchika Okada running around, right? And, we just got Randy, we just got Styles, and I feel like Cargill also would have made a wonderful addition to the roster, and I feel like things are kind of moving along without her. And I feel like there's a lot of different storylines and people that she could bounce off of here. I mean, you could put her in a couple matches here and there. I'm not saying she has to be part of a 10 out of 10, Brian Gerwitz level storyline. I'm just saying the fact that she's only showing up here and there in little sprinkles, little batches, and every now and again, just when we're getting used to her being there, somebody pulls the slack line back and off she goes. I'm a little bit worried, just a little bit, that we're seeing less and less of Cargill as the year goes on, and I'm worried that by the time we finally do see her, her popularity is not going to be the same as it was when she first showed up. So, hopefully, I don't know, it doesn't have to be, if it can't be Mania, fine. If it can't be Mania, fine. At the very least, can we get Backlash or some match in between there? Because I'm starting to get a little bit worried for how long it's been that she's been on TV. Moving over to AEW, on Wrestling Observer Radio, Dave Meltzer said that while he was told early this year for Jamie Hayter's return from injury, he hasn't heard anything new, quote, in a couple months. That's not that big of a deal. I'm not worried. I don't think you should be worried. I think no news is good news. All this means is that she's in the hyperbolic time chamber, right? She's training, and even if she isn't training, she's resting up, and this is what you want to hear. She's been away for quite some time, right? Again, I don't see anything wrong with that, because the longer she's away, the more she's healing, so that when she does end up coming back, she's going to be at 100%. That's what you want. I'm pretty sure that's what everybody's hoping for. There's not really much else to say, because she's obviously still resting up. So when she does come back, I feel like we will all be happily waiting for her. Moving over to TNA, Fightful Select says Scott D'Amore's departure from TNA had been in the works for a month prior to when it was announced. D'Amore, quote, adamantly did not want to leave. I wonder if he's going to fight this. I did mention this before, that it depends on his financial stability and the people that he knows, but I wonder if this is one of those things that Scott actually has a fighting chance, and like maybe there's something that they didn't mention in the contract or something. Maybe there's some sort of hole in this operation that Scott could like poke his finger into, you know what I mean? Because there's not really much else to say about this, simply because if this is just the plan that the business had and Scott D'Amore was just in the wrong place, right time type deal, then we can't really do anything. We can't really say anything other than, being a little bit upset about it. But if everything was done by the books, if everything was done with the proper documentation, then it's just one of those things that just needed to happen. But that's why, he was very adamant and they didn't let him answer any questions and that sort of stuff. So maybe there's something about this. Maybe something happened where Scott can be like, well, hold on a second. I've just been given this new piece of information that, basically says you can't fire me because of A, B, and C and stuff like that. I don't know if something like that's going to end up happening. I haven't heard anything about it recently. So unless something comes up and it turns out that Anthem were in the wrong the entire time, then there's not really much else that we can really say about this. So hopefully, at some point, Scott comes out with something or says something and, maybe we can get Scott back in charge. But until then, we can't really do anything. What are we talking about? All right, so Drew's being advertised for a May show in Italy. Now, I don't know why I want to keep saying that doesn't mean that he signed, even though that pretty much means exactly that. But there's a part of me that's just like, no, there's no way. He's been going on for this long without being signed, and all of a sudden, there's no one's talking about it. It's not like a thing or anything. It's just he just hasn't signed. There's no reason. I'm just going to assume it's because of the whole merger thing. But even then, that's already happened. So why was it taking so long? I don't know. Just very confused. Either way, I'm going to assume he signed because I don't know why else he would be there. So Jade Cargil is not, I don't want to say she's not in it anymore because technically speaking, she was never announced for. So to say she's not in it anymore implies that she was going to be in it at some point, but she was never in it. They just changed the plans. It's been a while since we've seen her. I'm a little bit worried. Hopefully she's going to have a match at some point in the next 2 to 3 months, because otherwise this is a bit alarming. I'm not going to lie to you. So Hader is still injured. We'll say she's still recovering. She's not still injured. Technically, yes, she is still injured, but she's still recovering. Haven't heard anything in a couple months. I'm going to assume that's a good thing. Just means that, she's doing her thing, resting up, not really trying to get into anything crazy at the moment. So, hopefully, she's getting better. Rocky Romero is with AEW's front office. Meltzer has since clarified Romero is also still working with New Japan Pro Wrestling. I don't see why he wouldn't be. Just because you've got a different position doesn't mean that all your other obligations are completely null and void. Fightful says Scott D'Amore's departure from TNA had been in the works for a month. D'Amore adamantly did not want to leave. Maybe that means he's fighting this. That's what I'm assuming. If you were adamantly fighting to stay, and then somebody asks questions about it and you don't answer the questions, and it all just sort of happens really quick, really swift, no one is really able to say anything, that means that some underhanded stuff is going on. And if it is going on, I hope that D'Amore has enough foundation to stand on where he can fight against that. I'm hoping. And for what it's worth, Matt Riddle told the Saturday Night's Main Event podcast that he has, quote, talked to TNA about coming in. He'd make a great addition, I'm excited to see what he's going to do there. Hopefully they actually, ink something down. Folks, that's going to do it for this episode. Hopefully everybody has a wonderful tonight and a wonderful tomorrow. And as always, big hugs. Big hugs all around.